that works for you this morning. Side of the body, back of the body, legs extended, knees bent. So always remembering for this practice, for every practice, no matter what anybody tells you, it's your practice, it's your body. And there are loads of options available. So, you know, you might even make up an option of something in this practice, which is fine. I'd love you to use that if that's more comfortable for your body than the option I give you. Just closing the eyes if that feels okay. And if that's not an option for you, so if that kind of feels a little bit too intense, maybe closing the eyes, you could just have a bit of a sleepy gaze. So a softness to the eyelids. You might gaze down towards the tip of the nose. Just casting your awareness out wide now. So what's the furthest sound that you can hear? So trying not to strain. It could be outside of your room, even outside of your house. And then gently imagine and see yourself bringing your awareness inwards slightly. So if you ventured outside of your yoga space, then perhaps you come inside of that space. So closer to you and your mat. Any sounds, even any smells. So feel your senses just be enlivened slightly. And then coming closer in still towards your own body. So as you inhale through the nose, just feel that gentle touch of air through the nostrils. And exhale out of nose or mouth. So as well as moving in a way that works for you, breathing in a way that works for you. So inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose works for people. Ujjayi breath, if you're familiar with that, works for some people. But equally breathing out the mouth works as well. So I breathe out of the mouth to enable me to talk basically when I'm teaching. If I'm in my own practice, could even vary from asana to asana. So the key is that awareness. As we move, what feels right for your body? How's the breath responding? We're yoking, we're unioning with all parts of the body. Also with the mind, so does something feel not quite right for you emotionally or mentally? So remembering you can always take a rest. Or you can always kind of find a variation that you feel challenges you a little bit more, your practice. Gently roll onto the back of the body if we're not there already, and bend the knees, place the soles of the feet down to the earth. So we're returning to our Svadhisthana, our second energy center, still working through our hips, our groin, that compression and extension through those areas. So just start with a little bit of warming up to the hips. Let's press down with that left foot, draw the right knee in, give it a little squeeze. Maybe you squeeze it and take it just beyond the right rib cage towards the armpit. So I'm not saying that it will reach the armpit. My knee definitely doesn't. And then releasing that left hand, holding on to the right kneecap, just gently guiding that knee out and back in towards the midline of the body. So this circular, this ball and socket motion. As you exhale, perhaps you just release it out to the side. As you inhale, you're drawing it back to center, and then switching the direction. So perhaps likely that you went in a clockwise direction. We're quite creatures of habit. Just switching that, taking it in the opposite direction. So as long as there's no pain, any little clicks, any sticking bits, that's okay. Let's plant that foot back down to the ground as we inhale. Draw that left knee in again. Just coach it out to the side a little bit. Give it a nice squeeze. Then releasing that right hand and gently using that left hand on the kneecap to guide some opening there to the left hand side. Switching the direction. And planting the sole of the foot down. Tucking the chin to the chest, just reaching the hands up towards the sky, taking some circles through the wrists, maybe just tensing and releasing through the fingertips. So again, any clicks, any cracks is okay as long as there's no pain involved there. Releasing the hands down by the side of the body, they're offering you a little bit of support. Bring the knees both in towards the chest, and then as you exhale, gently extend the toes to the sky. So there could be a bend still in the knees. Just circling this time through the ankle joints, maybe wiggling out through the toes. Maybe flexing and pointing through the feet, so feeling the reaction of the front and the back of the legs as we go there. And then as we exhale, just releasing the feet all the way down. Step the feet out wide, let the knees knock in, just bringing the hands onto the belly, closing the eyes. So in constructive rest, always a really nice one to return to if you just need a couple of breaths and a little bit of reflection time. Bringing awareness to that rise and fall of the belly. Then traveling just below the belly button, where our sacral chakra, Svadhisthana, exists. This energy center of creativity, of movement, of flow. So a bit of exploration in practice in your life maybe. An orange colour, an orange glow inside the body. Perhaps you visualize that, or perhaps, you know, chakras aren't your thing and you're a bit like, yeah, okay. Nice and slowly, just rolling over onto the right side of the body. So just resting there for a moment. Perhaps a moment if you have a dedication or an intention for your practice. So remember, you could dedicate this to yourself. This might be one of the only times you get to yourself in the week, or perhaps as a friend, a family member that you'd like to dedicate it to. Or you have an intention you're just repeating. Now let's press through that left hand nice and gently, just pushing ourselves all the way up. Find a comfortable seat that works for you. So perhaps Sukhasana, perhaps Baddha Konasana, or just a wider version of Sukhasana. Sitting nice and tall. So again, use a prop if you need to. If you need that lift and lengthen, then just taking your seat onto something. Softening the shoulders and softening through the face. Let's drop the right ear over onto that right shoulder. So just releasing through the neck. Taking the chin down towards the chest. So releasing through back of neck. And then lifting up and over to that left side. So if you have any neck issues, any niggles, you just know it's a sensitive area for you, then continue that. So just these kind of semicircles. If your neck feels okay, very gently, the gaze comes up towards the sky as you drop the head back slightly. So we're not throwing, we're just dropping. And then you to come round to the right hand side. Chin to chest. And over to the left. Back round to the back, over to the right hand side, and the chin to the chest. Then as we inhale, just lifting the gaze all the way back to centre. Finding your way onto your hands and knees. So whether you fold forward, whether you drop the legs to the side, either is okay. Let's spread the fingers as much as is comfortable. Shoulders over the wrists. If it's quite a lot of pressure for your hands, then you could place the hands on cushions, you could place the hands on blocks, or you could just drop down onto the forearms. So, you know, we're still going to be doing the same position, a tabletop, moving into cat-cow. So find what works for you. Knees and feet hip distance apart. Push the earth away here. So that's a key with tabletop and cat-cow. Lifting belly button into low back. The head is quite like a neutral but active position in tabletop. So rather than it sagging down to the ground. Just take a few breaths there. Maybe you even start to press into the toes. So strengthen and activate there. Then moving it into that flow. As we inhale, we just let the belly drop down. Moving the heart space forwards, shoulders back, just gently gazing forwards. As we exhale, really push the earth away. Start to round the spine up towards the sky. Groin pushes forward slightly, chin comes towards chest. So just taking a couple more like that in your own time. So if you're down on the forearms, it's exactly the same movement. Maybe you even want to explore just taking a couple on the forearms. And then eventually coming back to your version of tabletop. If you're on the forearms, you could come back onto the hands. You could put hands on blocks and start to just take the knees back slightly here. So we're keeping the hips and the knees in line, the tops of the feet down. Sliding the arms forward slightly. So think of a downward dog reach here. Take an inhale. As you exhale, start to push the seat high, release down onto the elbows. So this is even a version of kind of like a half downward dog position. So pushing that seat up nice and high. You might take the knees a bit wider. So if you need that extra space in between the legs, then just take the knees a little bit wider. You could let the crown of the head dip to the earth. You could be gazing forwards. Either staying there in that version of your downward facing dog or lifting onto the hands. Keep that length through the arms. Tuck the toes onto the mat. Take a nice big inhale, and as you exhale, push the seat nice and high. Step the feet down onto the mat. Same thing here. Do you want your feet at hip distance? Do you need space? So, you know, like for pregnancy, things like that. If you need that extra space for your bump, you just take the feet wider. Stay engaged through the hands, let go of engagement in the head, so the head is heavy. And what feels nice here, a little bit of movement, that feeling of flow from Svadhisthana or stillness. Then as we inhale, let's start to look forward, move the body forwards. As you exhale, step, walk, whatever works for you, the toes to the backs of the wrists. So we're in this Uttanasana position. So the knees are soft, the belly's laid towards the thighs. Same again if you need more space. So, you know, you don't have to be pregnant to need more space. Sometimes I just want more space in my body. I take my feet out a little bit wider. So we might know one way of doing things, but I think it's so beneficial to explore something else. The head is heavy. Maybe you're still in Uttanasana, or maybe you're having a little bit of a sway and movement there. If that makes you feel dizzy, lift the fingertips to the earth or place the hands on blocks. Just take a gentle gaze forwards, but you can still have that compression down into the groin and the hips. With a nice big inhale, let's start to rise up through the body, head first or head last. You decide what makes your body feel better. As you exhale, roll the shoulders back. Take the gaze forwards. Release the arms down by the side of the body. What's your Tadasana? Feet together. So feet together will give you less space to balance, but if that feels good, go there. Feet hip distance, or again, maybe feet need to be a little bit wider. Gently closing the eyes. Returning back to the breath here. So does the breath feel different? The answer could be yes, but it could be no. Now you're in a standing position. Can you activate through the lower part of the body? So thinking the waist downwards. Have that push down into the earth, but lift and lightness through the upper body. Mountain pose. Let's gently blink the eyes open. Step the feet a little bit closer together as long as that's comfortable. Keep that gaze forwards. Find a drishti point, so that focus point. Let's bring the hands into prayer. Pressing down through that left foot, turning that right knee and coming into our tree pose. So you could balance the right heel on the left ankle. You could slide the leg up a little bit further. Nice variation is you could use a block, so you're really getting like that opening with the block. So this is definitely more about opening the hips than how high we can lift the leg. So hips stay forward, that left leg stays strong and lifts you. As you inhale, perhaps you reach that prayer up. As you exhale, maybe take the arms out nice and wide. But you can always keep the hands in prayer, completely up to you. Just finding balance in our tree pose as we find flow of breath. Let's take an inhale. As we exhale, bring the hands back to prayer if we take a different option. Taking an inhale, bringing that right knee forwards, soften into the left. And as you exhale, stride back. So it doesn't have to be a long stride. Better to do a short stride. Then when you feel comfortable, just adopt a longer stride. So finding our high lunge. Let's take an inhale, lift the fingertips up to the sky. And as we exhale, just settling the body down. So the gaze could be forwards, the gaze could lift up. If you want to bring a little bit of heart opening, back bending into that, again, it's your practice, you explore. We don't have to be here, be still. You can always draw the arms back, lifting the heart space up, feeling that little bit of compression in low spine. Let's take an inhale, reach to the side of the body. As we exhale, turn and face the long edge of the mat, turning the toes out, the heels in, and releasing the hands down onto the hips. So really lengthen up through the spine. Feel yourself push the groin forward slightly as you squeeze the bum cheeks and round the tailbone under. Then let's take an inhale, sweep the arms wide, lift to prayer, perhaps look up. As we exhale, bend the knees and elbows, come down into our goddess. So keeping that tailbone tucked under. Maybe have a little bit of movement here. So, to kind of like settle yourself down, or just because it feels nice. Then let's take an inhale, sweeping back up. We could still be moving the hips from side to side. As we exhale, coming all the way back down, goddess. One more like that. Inhale, sweeping up. And exhale. Coming all the way down, taking that drishti forwards. Breathe in there. Let's inhale, lengthen the legs, bring the hands onto the hips. As we exhale, turn the toes inwards this time. So for your wide leg forward fold, again, you might just feel like you want more space. So you can always shimmy the feet wider. We're still keeping the tailbone tucked under here. Nice tall spine. Take an inhale, just drawing the elbows back. So we're bringing the shoulder blades together, opening the heart space. And as we exhale, folding forward, so literally pushing the bum out. Finding a flat back position. So you might need to soften the knees here. Then perhaps taking another inhale, just glancing forwards. As you exhale, keep that press of the bum up towards the sky so you can have a nice long spine. Maybe the hands come down onto a cushion, onto blocks, onto 7 blocks. If you feel like you want to, you can just keep the gaze slightly forwards. If it's okay with your head and neck, you can let the head hang heavy. Crown of the head comes towards the earth. So I'm not saying touches it, just that's the direction. Let's take a couple of breaths there. And here you could even be responding with a little bit of movement. So you could be gently bending into the right knee as you extend the left, bending into the left knee as you extend the right. So sometimes that static stillness in a pose just doesn't feel right for you, and that's okay. Let's be at center if we were having a little bit of movement. As we inhale, lifting onto the fingertips, softening the knees if we need to. As we exhale, turning and walking around to the top of the mat. So don't overthink it, just turning the body into a runner's lunge position. Let's drop that back knee, step the right foot back. Spread the knees, slide the big toes to touch, push the seat down and push on the backs of the hands a bit there. So again, a bit of movement, like nuzzle the back of the body down. And several ways you can do this. So you could take the knees super wide if you need that space. You could just come to rest down onto the forearms, relax the head down. You could extend the arms forwards. You could use something under the forehead. So really focus on finding what is comfortable for you. Like forget, whoever said to you, unless it was me, of course, no, I'm only joking. If I say, this is how you do a certain pose, unmute and tell me that I'm wrong, because how you do a certain pose is for you. So I can tell you this is how my body responds to a certain pose. I cannot tell you how yours does. Just closing the eyes there. Maybe taking a couple of deeper breaths. And if you fancy staying there for a little while, if that just feels like, oh yeah, this is comfy, I could stay here, then be my guest. One of my favourite asanas. Or if you feel like you're ready to move on to the other side, just nice and slowly from wherever you are, bringing yourself back into a tabletop position. So separating out the knees a little bit. If you want to, place the hands onto your block. So for downward dog, that can just give you more space through upper body. Let's shift the knees back just a little bit. Still keeping the hips and the knees in line. Walk the hands forward slightly, take an inhale. And as you exhale, just dropping down onto the elbows. Lift the seat nice and high. So we're like feeling that length and expression that we get through our downward dog, just in a different variation. You can let the head be heavy, or you can take the gaze forward slightly. Just feeling that gentle pressure in the groin, the hip space. Then lifting the elbows away from the earth, but keeping that length through the arms. Tuck the toes, take an inhale, and as you exhale, push that seat nice and high. Step the feet to what works for you. Have a bit of movement there again. So, this time you might feel like, okay, I just want to hang out here. Or you might have a bit of movement. There's no right or wrong movement. Sway, walk, I don't know, whatever you feel like. And then coming back to stillness, softening into the knees, just leaning the body forward, taking the gaze down the middle of the mat as we step or walk the toes to the backs of the wrists. Hip distance or wider. Take an inhale. Let's come up into our halfway lift position this time. So you don't have to push the kneecaps back either. You might have soft knees. We're looking for that suck up of the abs here. So that belly button to low back position rather than collapsing down. Draw the shoulders back, a bit of an active gaze. And again, like really good prop for halfway lifters blocks. So you could plant the hands down, get that length in spine. Let's take an inhale. As we exhale, fold in the body forward. Feel that pressure come down onto the lower body. Release the head if that works for you. If it doesn't, then having that little gaze forwards. Maybe have a sway out here. Maybe you're still. Head rising first or last, pressing through the feet for that strength as you inhale, coming all the way up. As you exhale, rolling the shoulders back, just adjusting the clothes if you need to. I feel like we always need to. When will someone make clothes that we don't need to adjust? Just gazing forwards, finding your feet for Tadasana. Then closing the eyes. So trying to keep the chin parallel to the earth. Trying to spread the toes rather than grip the toes, so it can be quite easy to grip onto the mat rather than create a big surface area. Making those little adjustments that make our body feel stronger from waist down, but softer through the top of the body. So if it's your face that you know you kind of like grimace and clench the teeth, then just have a good wiggle. Maybe just kind of blow through the lips. I named that one horse breath last year. No one's copyrighted it yet, but there's time. And breathe in there. So breathe in, feel that lift and length, and this almost like confidence of standing on the earth with awareness. And as you exhale, that gentle softening, that press down through the feet. Blinking the eyes open, finding the hands into our prayer. Step the feet closer together if that works. Remember, it might not always. Pressing down through that left foot, spread the toes. Turning right foot, did I say left foot? Press down through the right foot anyhow. And turn the left. So again, find a cushion, a prop if you want to. This is a nice hip opener. So keeping that strength through right side, that confident lift, finding your version of Vrikasana. Just gazing forwards. If it's there for your body, inhale, lift that prayer. Exhale, spread the arms, feel the opening of the chest. If you know another version with the hands, you can be my guest. If you want to close the eyes, test your balance, then you can do that as well. Let's take an inhale, lift the hands back to prayer. As we exhale, just journeying that prayer back down to the heart space, ready for our step back. Inhale, turn that knee to center. You can, of course, touch the feet down, or you could lift it, soften right. As you exhale, step back. So that slow movement. To be fair, I'm going to tell you a secret. I've got a cheat and I've got a wall here. So if I feel a bit unsteady, I can just pop my elbow onto the wall. So if you ever think, crikey, her balance is good in the morning, I'm just leaning on the wall. So finding that position that works for you. Perhaps inhale, lift the hands up. As you exhale, do you want to draw the arms back a little bit so we never throw ourselves into a back bend? That front knee over the ankle, that's a nice strong place for it to be. Back knee could be bent, or you could be pushing through that hamstring. Let's take an inhale, reach up through the side of the body. As we exhale, turn towards the long edge of the mat, take the arms wide, then just release the hands to the hips. Toes out, heels in. Let's inhale, sweep up, find a prayer. Exhale, bend knees and elbows. Remember, you could move, or perhaps this time you want to try stillness. Rounding that tailbone under, putting pressure in the edges of the feet. Inhale, sweep up, lengthen through the body. And exhale to come back down. Inhale, sweeping up one more time. And exhaling down. Let's inhale, lengthen through the legs. Exhale, hands to hips, turning the toes inwards. So finding the position that works for you. Getting the blocks ready, your cushions, pillows. Inhale, lifting through the chest, draw the shoulder blades together. Exhale, push the seat away. Find that halfway position. So if you've got blocks, the arms might be straight onto the blocks. And staying there is perfect, you know, that's a great position. If you want a different option, take an inhale, lift a little bit. So remember that space and length. And as you exhale, keep pushing the seat up to the sky, bringing the fingertips down. Find what works for you. And there's so much to play with here as well. You could maybe practice with walking the hands forward, so bringing some weight into the toes. If you take the arms a little bit wider and push the seat to the sky, you can really relax the head down towards the ground. You might walk the hands the opposite way, so turning the fingertips towards the back of the mat and walking back through that way. Now let's all have a little bit of lift here onto the tips of the fingers. So we're going to move from side to side in our Skandasana position. So we'll soften into this left knee. The heel lifts away from the earth. You can of course still have your hands on blocks, but you'd have to just walk the blocks across with you. So lifting that left heel, starting to slide onto that side, adjust that right leg and foot accordingly. And you could have the right edge of the foot down, or you could turn the toes up towards the sky. Maybe the hands are both down. Maybe you plant the left hand down, lift the right fingertips up. You could even draw the hand back a little bit, so feel that real opening through chest. If you feel super steady, do I feel super steady? You could bring the hands into a prayer. So from that central position, walking over, left side, lift the heel. You could take a halfway kind of variation there where you're just coming onto one side, resting the arm down. And then let's take it over to the opposite side. So releasing the hands, walking over to that right hand side, lift the heel. Turn the left toes. What's your variation there? Right hand down, left hand lifts. Prayer position. You could have that right foot to the earth, just lean up. So it's a good one to kind of practice just moving from side to side in. Let's release the hands back down to the earth. Lifting through the body slightly, we're going to turn back to that lunge position. So take a lift and a turn. Plant the hands down. This time, step back to a downward facing dog. Stepping the feet out nice and wide. So mine are going mat distance, heels on, toes off. Yours might go wider. Take an inhale. As you exhale, soften the knees, walk the hands in towards you. Finding Malasana, our yogi squat. And using a prop there. Or 10 props. You know, if you want to stack stuff really high, then it's your practice. Bolster's a good one. Either bring the hands into prayer, so that prayer engages a little bit of lift, or just have the fingertips or hands down and the gaze to the earth. Let's close the eyes, just take a couple of breaths here. Blink the eyes open, releasing the hands forward, plant the hands down, push the seat back and up, just turning the toes back towards the top of the mat. Let's walk ourselves back into our downward facing dog. As we inhale, starting to move the body forwards here. As you exhale, left knee drops down, right foot steps wide. So we're by pinky finger of that hand. And you can extend that left leg back a little bit further if that feels comfy. You could turn the right toes out. Hands could be on the floor, hands could be on blocks, on a cushion. Let's just gently inhale, relax forward, so knee might travel over ankle. Exhale, just find a little bit of extension. So sinking the hips back. Inhale, coming forwards. And exhale, coming back. Coming all the way back to center, knee over ankle if we can, just the strongest position there. Take an inhale, lifting the chest forward, gaze forwards. And as you exhale, just softening. So that can literally mean head is heavy, a little bit of bend in the elbows. So feeling that weight press down through the right side, perhaps feeling in that left quad a nice big stretch. But we're never forcing. So if you're kind of having to tug, push, pull, then really just kind of releasing from that striving. So the more we push, pull and tug, then the more the body just responds back with tightness. Let's gently inhale and lift the gaze. You could keep the hands on blocks or just release the palms down to the ground. Tuck the back toe, lift that back knee. So if this is comfortable, then that's great. If not, that's also fine. You could drop that back knee back down. So we're just going to take a little bit of movement forwards and backwards with that back leg lifted. So again, we're just exploring, what does that feel like? If the answer's awful, then just drop the knee to the earth. Then dropping that left knee, stepping the right foot back, just finding a moment in tabletop, whatever your version of that is. Do you need to release the wrists and just drop down? Maybe the head's heavier, just closing the eyes. And returning in your own time back into your downward facing dog position. As we inhale, starting to move the body forwards once more. As we exhale, right knee drops down, left foot steps wide. So respond to that left foot. Is it naturally wanting to turn out? Taking the blocks if we need to. As we inhale, letting the pelvis feel heavy, moving forwards. As we exhale, releasing back. So really good for ankle mobility, but only going as far as feels good for you. Coming back to a neutral position here, so neutral meaning the knee over the ankle. Sliding into that left knee. If that works, remember you can double up the mat. You could use a blanket behind that left knee for the pressure. Take an inhale, find that lift and space. And as you exhale, just slowly surrendering. Maybe closing the eyes. Gently inhale, lifting the gaze, so strengthening back up through the arms, hands on blocks or not, turning those left toes towards the top of the mat, knee over ankle, option to tuck the back toes, lift that knee, and just that real gentle forwards and backwards motion. So if that doesn't feel good for your body, that's fine. Drop the knee and just carry on with the forward and backwards motion as we were before. Then let's drop that right knee down, step that left foot back, spreading the knees out, bringing the toes to touch. So again, pushing into the backs of the hands, having a wiggle, like really what is the comfortable position for the back of the body? Got to be honest, mine's not with the big toes touching, my big toes separate, but I'm okay with that. You could just drop the elbows and lower arms down, release the head to a block or just let it hang there. You might extend the arms forwards. You might fold the arms and just rest the head down on the forearms. So we're going to take 2 minutes here. So really encourage you to find what variation you like. If that changes after the first minute, fine, then perhaps you take a different variation. So you are in control of your practice, your body, what feels good for you. I can see a bolster being whipped out, which is a great option. And in this time of just a little bit of stillness and rest, can you stay present? So it can be much less challenging for some people, again, not for everyone, but to stay present when we're moving. You know, we've got that focus from bit to bit. What are my arms, my legs, what's everything doing? I'm trying to breathe at the same time. Maybe we're used to being busy as well. Where does the mind go when we just offer ourselves that opportunity to be still? Can we keep it in the practice? Last couple of breaths here. Starting to slow everything down. And perhaps you feel like you could benefit from another minute there, you know, or 2 minutes, that's fine. Or nice and slowly, just lifting the gaze, sliding or walking the hands back in towards you, pressing into the earth. Just coming to take the seat onto the heels, so taking your time. Let's drop over to one side, extending the legs out in front of us. And grabbing some supports here. So you could have the legs hip distance. If you really enjoy working on the hips and that external rotation, you could take a straddle position. Maybe you want to sit on something. Maybe you want to take something to support the backs of the knees. So any forward fold with the legs extended, we're pressuring through the backs of the legs. You might want something in between the legs to rest the head on. And let's take a nice big inhale as we sit tall here. You could flex the feet, of course, that gives a different sensation through front and back, or you could relax the toes. Just breathe in here, feeling the sit bones. Take a nice big inhale again. And as you exhale, folding from the hips here. So the lower spine is still long, just the hands, you know, walking their way along. Let's take a break there. So still got nice length to the spine. If we're drawing the shoulders forwards, then we're actively going to just drop them back. Maybe you stay here, like that could feels pretty nice for my lower back. Or perhaps you inhale. And as you exhale, you allow this softness to come over mid and top of the back. So I'm going to support my head with something, but you don't have to. If you've had no previous neck or head injuries, it might feel nice to have the head just hanging there. And if you need to soften into the knees when you fold forward to feel that bit of compression, or even in your higher version, so feeling the belly maybe come towards the thighs, make space for the body, like take the legs wider if you need to. This yoga practice isn't supposed to be like uncomfortable and, oh God, you know, this bit of my body doesn't work here. We can find ways to make it work. So that stimulation of the hips and the groin as we just gently fold forwards in whatever position that is. This is not about reaching the earth. Let's find the experience rather than the goal. And when you feel ready to, head could come up first or last. Maybe you press the hands down to the earth for a little bit of support as you inhale, just lifting all the way up. Taking an exhale, softening the face and the shoulders. Maybe grab a sip of your drink if you've got one and you fancy it. And if you need to put socks, jumpers, any of those kind of things on, then popping those on and bringing everything around you for your Shavasana. So we're not going straight there, but you can if you want. If you're not sure how to like come down, this sounds really silly, but sometimes we just like throw themselves to the earth dramatically. If you're not sure how to come down onto your back in a comfortable way, just come down onto the side of the body. So lower yourself onto the side first and then slide onto the back of the body. So always thinking like, what is the nicest way that I can do it for my body? I need my body. So whenever you're ready, just making your way down onto the back of the body. If you decide once you're there that like, yup, here comes Shavasana for me, then that's absolutely fine. Set yourself up. If not, we're going to take a little bit of a happy baby. So drawing the knees in towards you, taking them out wider, again, make appropriate space. You could just hold the knees here, let the heels drop down towards the seat. You might hold the backs of the thighs, have that gentle pull. You might reach up and hold the big toes. We're keeping the knees bent, but just gently extending from the back of the knees to the heels. And even have an explore here. So Svadhisthana, that flow, the element of water, just allowing us to have fluidity. Maybe you have a little roll from side to side. Maybe you extend through the legs. So just be really mindful of the hamstrings. There's a nice version of happy baby on the back you can do here. So touching the toes together and having the knees wide. If you ever need that alternative. And then dropping the soles of the feet back down to the ground. Let's step them wide, let the knees knock in, constructive rest. So really feel that the knees and the thighs are supporting each other in that inverted V shape. You might want to take the arms out wider, or you may just be happy with the hands on the body. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, just let the knees drift to the right. Take an inhale, draw the knees back to center, let them touch. Exhale to the left. So just continuing like that. The knees, the sides of the legs do not have to touch the earth. Like if yours are, that's fab. Mine are nowhere near, that's also great. If you want to take longer on one side of the body, there's an invitation there to just drop the legs on top of each other, take a bit of a supine twist position. Trying to keep the upper back flat to the earth if we can. And then once you feel like that's enough for you, take in any final movement that you feel would add to your practice, or setting yourself up for Shavasana. Just quickly go through a couple of options for Shavasana. So again, you know, if you know a different option, cool, then you do you. So you could take a pentacle pose, that's more of a yin pose, but actually it's really nice if you want to be more expansive. So thinking of a star shape, but not taking the arms above the head, because we're trying to bring energy down in Shavasana, but the legs can go nice and wide. The arms could go probably max up to shoulder height. You could have more of a inverted commas traditional Shavasana, where the legs are a little bit closer, the arms rest by the side of the body or on the body. Back to constructive rest. So constructive rest is a really solid option if you want to have your lower back to the earth. Or rolling onto the side of the body. And if you're on the side of the body, it sounds a bit weird sometimes, I think, when I say certain instruction, but if you can understand it, be more on your shoulder blade. So rather than being right on the side, resting the weight on that lower shoulder, just see if you can roll the weight back a little bit into the shoulder blade. And you might extend the lower arm, so the palm is just up towards the sky. You might rest that left arm just on the side of the body. You can even hold onto the belly with the left hand. And support the head. So head support is a really important one for Shavasana. You don't want to be having your head rolled right back. We want to try and find this neutrality of the back of the neck. So I'll give you another minute just to find any other props or any other way of comfort that feels nice for you. Closing the eyes. If you don't want to close the eyes, if you just want to have a soft gaze, then that's also okay. So the reason we close the eyes is to just kind of close out that outside world, sending these calming signals to the body, to the brain. We're ready for rest. Just taking one last scan of the body. Anything else that you feel you would like to change? Or are you in a really nice, comfortable position? Trying to keep your mind in your practice as best as you can. So for some of you, it might be that you just float away in your Shavasana. For others, it might be a little trickier. So maybe you watch the breath, just this very gentle focus. Maybe you're focusing on that area just below the belly button, Svadhisthana. Seeing that orange glow. Or perhaps there's something else that within your practice that keeps you present as you just take a couple of minutes of well-deserved rest where the magic happens. your attention now to your breath. So maybe you're guided to a couple of deeper breaths. Or it's just that natural soft flow of breath. And as we brought the awareness inwards at the beginning of the practice, let's gently take it outwards. So any sounds, any smells in the room around you. And maybe traveling that awareness wider. Perhaps you can hear the birds outside, a gentle hum of traffic. So we don't need to analyse any of these sounds, smells, senses, just knowing that they're there around us. And you are more than welcome to stay in your rest. So remembering that rest is so valuable. Or you're welcome to move away from your rest. If you are moving away from your rest, just responding to how your body might like you to do that. So a gentle wiggle, a stretch, a roll around. Eventually coming onto the side of the body. So if there's a side that you need to roll onto for any medical reasons, then roll into that side. If not, whichever side you prefer. Just taking a moment to rest there. Did you have a dedication, an intention, or has one perhaps now come to mind? If not, absolutely fine. You know, not every aspect of yoga is for everyone. And maybe you decide to stay there, or if not, just gently pressing yourself up, sleepy gaze or eyes closed, whatever you prefer. Finding whatever position works for your body. So remember, that doesn't have to be legs crossed. Make the space, use the prop. Sitting nice and tall when we get there. Just recognizing the earth beneath the seat, the sky above the head. Let's join the hands in Anjali Mudra in our prayer. Just gently nuzzling the thumbs to the heart space. Taking an inhale. And a bow as we exhale. So that moment of thanks, of gratitude to our unique bodies, our breath, our mind. And of course, to each other for sharing our practice and being here this morning. And I hope you enjoyed your practice. I hope you have a lovely, restful Sunday. The light and dark in me honours the light and dark within you. Namaste.